On the 17th of November 2024, a speedrun world record was set in 70 star, which marked the first time that only one player held every single record in the game at the same time. A truly remarkable accomplishment that many in the scene agree may never be replicated again, simply due to the sheer amount of competitive interest in Super Mario 64, a game which has been watched for over 18 million hours in the last year alone on Twitch.tv, the largest live streaming platform on the internet. It is currently the 98th most popular game on the website, which is incredibly impressive for a 28-year-old game. In fact, it's the oldest game in the top 100. That is if you exclude chess, which is a game that probably came out in the 7th century. Compared to modern video games, many of which feature multiplayer and online modes, high-definition graphics, deep lore and captivating storytelling, all things that many of us take for granted today given how many amazing games there are, and notably, all things that Super Mario 64 specifically lacks, it's astonishing to see it's remained to stay so popular. However, the secret lies in the world of competitive gaming. This is the story of how Super Mario 64 managed to thrive in the modern age of gaming, and how one person came out of nowhere to surpass everyone and obtain the greatest video game achievement of all time. Speedrunners are gamers who try to finish games as fast as possible, and our story focuses on one 18-year-old Canadian gamer named GreenSuigi. But before we delve into how he managed to game out of his mind, let's very quickly explain everything you need to know to understand all 5 main categories. When you first start the game, Mario is unable to access the basement of the castle or the upstairs section, both requiring a key restricting Mario to the lobby. In order to beat Super Mario 64 in a regular playthrough, you must first collect 8 stars to access and defeat the first Bowser, who gives you a key once defeated to access the basement of the castle. Here you can collect up to 15 stars, which spawns a bunny named Mips, who also gives you a star if you catch him. He's not overly important in the game normally, but will become crucial later. Once you collect a total of 30 stars, you are able to open a door in the basement which leads to Dar Dar Docks. This stage contains Bowser's submarine, and one specific star which, once collected, pushes back the portal to the level, revealing the second Bowser level. Bowser here also gives you a key when defeated, this time to the upstairs area. In the upstairs section, there is another door leading up even higher into the castle which requires 50 stars total to open. And then finally, past this higher level, there is another staircase leading to the final Bowser fight, which requires 70 stars to pass through. Otherwise, if Mario doesn't have 70 stars, he'll simply climb forever with no end in sight. Overall, there are a total of 120 stars which can be collected in the game, but you only need a minimum of 70 to complete the game. In Super Mario 64 speedrunning, there are 5 main categories, and those are as follows. 0 star, which is essentially the equivalent to any percent, with a number of unique tricks. Runners start with lobby backwards long jump, which is a trick performed at the start of the run to get into Bowser in the Dark World with 0 stars, in order to fight Bowser before collecting any stars. Then with the key acquired from the first Bowser fight, they go down to the basement to perform side backwards long jump on the stairs near the Dar Dar Docks door, which normally requires 30 stars to open, to perform a very tricky maneuver known as DDD skip, to skip past Dar Dar Docks in order to get to the second Bowser level. This is arguably one of the most difficult tricks in not just Mario 64, but in speedrunning in general, and very few people have managed to submit a run making it to the end. Then, after heading upstairs, runners perform a backwards long jump up through the 50 star door, and then up the 70 star stairs, all the way to the final Bowser fight, and finish the game with 0 stars. The second category is 1 star, which is essentially the same as 0 star, except DDD skip is banned. This means that runners just do a side backwards long jump straight into Dar Dar Docks without needing to perform DDD skip, and collect the star atop Bowser's submarine, and continue as you would normally in 0 star. It's important to note that this alone is already far easier than 0 star, simply because DDD skip is such a precise trick. That's not to say that side backwards long jump is not a difficult trick on its own, but it is a lot easier than DDD skip is, although it is still considered an extremely difficult trick in the game. The third category is 16 star, which bans side backwards long jump altogether. This now means that the new fastest method to get straight into Dar Dar Docks is to perform something called Mips Clip, which is a trick that involves spawning Mips the rabbit, holding him near the edge of the door leading to the basement section, which contains the 30 star door, and then doing a clip with him through that door as well, in order to get into Dar Dar Docks. This requires 15 stars to spawn Mips in the first place, and then runners must collect 1 more star in Dar Dar Docks to get the portal to move out of the way to get to Fire Sea. and then it's business as usual from there. The fourth category is 70 star, which requires you to beat the game as fast as possible, although this time without any sort of sequence breaks, as well as no backwards long jumps, no MIPS clips, and no circumventing any castle doors via any other method. This is considered to be a sort of no major glitches category, and it forces players to take a path much closer to what could resemble a normal playthrough. And then finally, the fifth category is 120 star, which requires you to collect every single star in the game, however this time with no restrictions whatsoever. Every type of glitch and trick is allowed, so long as you just collect every single star in the game. This means that while runners don't do it currently, you could in theory perform side backwards long jump to get to Dire Dire Docks a tiny bit faster to skip the door opening cutscene animation. Now that we have all our bases covered, let's talk about the legend himself, GreenSuigi. GreenSuigi started playing Mario sporadically throughout mid to late 2020 and uploaded his first personal best run on the 15th of October. It was a 16-minute and 56-second personal best of 16 star, and you can see from the top of the splits, he's running a variant of 16 star called No LBLJ. This is essentially the same as a 16 star run, except the trick at the start of the game known as lobby backwards long jump that lets you skip straight to the first Bowser level is banned. The reason being is that it makes it more accessible to beginners first learning the game, and while it's still completely fine to submit this to a 16 star leaderboard, there's also a separate leaderboard on the Super Mario 64 category extensions page on speedrun.com. This is a page that keeps track of extra categories outside of the main 5 with various rule sets, and 16 star No LBLJ is the most popular one. It's important to note that lobby backwards long jump saves over half a minute in 16 star, more than any other category, since access to the basement is essential for fast stars. So while opting out of it makes the beginning of the run easier, it's much harder to get a top level time with this route. That said, Suigi managed to achieve a sub 17-minute run, which is incredible for only having played seriously for a couple months at most. This highlights an important factor about Suigi that will remain consistent throughout his entire career. He practices a lot, and he's not afraid to go for difficult movement. He performs tricks like MIPS clips with ease, and later on, absolutely nails the backwards long jumps. This will also become a staple in Suigi's gameplay as well. This guy is unbelievably good at BLJs. With a clean fight, he clutched out a 16-minute run. But he knew at this point he had time still left to save, so rather than switching to another category, he would end up grinding his time down all the way to a 15:56 2 months later, a truly remarkable time for playing without LBLJ. Now that he achieved his goal, GreenSuigi would pick up LBLJ as a trick and switch to pure 16 star runs. What would have been a slow climb up a long, treacherous mountain path would turn out to be a sprint for GreenSuigi like no one had ever seen before. This was the ascension of GreenSuigi.
Is that a world record? I think I posted it at the end. Nope, that's the record. Oh my god.
GreenSuigi did the unthinkable. On the 10th of November, he achieved a monumental run of 14 minutes 55 seconds, beating the previous record by less than a second, and marking his first main category world record. It took GreenSuigi less than 2 years of playing Super Mario 64 to achieve a world record in 16 star, making a mark on history with a meteoric rise that cast the eyes of many spectators upon him. Following this victory, Suigi wouldn't rest, instead opting to improve his own record by another full second. And when a week later his 16-star record was beaten by an incredibly formidable opponent named Ouija on November 30th, he would keep working hard and take back the record exactly 1 month later, improving upon Ouija's run by an astonishing 5 seconds, which is a substantial amount of time for a category as short and as competitive as 16-star. Suigi could finally rest easy, and over the course of 2022, he took up playing the other categories, 120 star, 70 star, 1 star, and even 0 star, achieving solid personal bests in all the categories. But 16 star never left his sights, and he would improve his personal best, and by extension the world record, 2 more times, ending the year with a ridiculous 14-minute 41-second time, a time of 9 seconds ahead of second place. Nobody else had managed to crack the 14-minute 50-second barrier, and yet here Suigi was, almost in the 1430s. At this point, his 16-star runs were looking much cleaner, and he was going for much more difficult movement than most runners at this time. In his 1441, he got a fast Lakitu skip, opting to dive across the bridge rather than long jump, which saves a fraction of a second. Towards the end of Dark World, he went for a slick side flip to collect a red coin higher up. In Lethal Lava Land, he went for an optimal lava boost up to the poles, and went for this insane double jump to avoid touching the poles at all. He went for an extremely fast and precise variant of movement in Hazy Maze Cave on the left side of the room to collect the amazing emergency exit star at the top. He would carefully position MIPS to clip through 2 doors to get through to Dar Dar Docks, and did so with ease. He then performed a precise clip through the wall above the underwater tunnel in Dar Dar Docks while getting to the star at Bowser Submarine. And then in Fire Sea, he performed an upwarp that speedrunners colloquially refer to as pole glitch, a very precise trick that requires multiple frame-perfect inputs to set up consistently, and one that actually has nothing to do with the pole itself. In simplest terms, the game checks whether a ceiling Mario is colliding with is grabbable ever so slightly behind where Mario's model physically is in-game. And so with just the right movement, one can ensure that Mario has just the right speed to trick the game into thinking he should be grabbing the grabbable ceiling in the cage that's far above him just as he collides with the ceiling of the wooden block underneath the pole. He goes on to backwards long jump through the 50-star door and up the final staircase with absolutely no hesitation. He performs an absolutely crazy long jump to save time over the regular shortcut that speedrunners take in Bowser in the Sky, a trick that's precise enough to have earned the name TAS Long Jump. TAS, or TAS, is an acronym short for Tool Assisted Speedrun, and it refers to speedruns that are pre-programmed frame by frame to be as fast as possible, and usually involve tricks that are humanly impossible to perform. Suigi clutched out this run with a near-perfect Bowser fight, landing all 3 throws, achieving an unbelievably optimal time. Through the entire run, he really only made one minor movement error, and that was in Hazy Maze Cave while attempting a triple jump off a box to clear a wall to fall into a star deep below. But he backed it up so quickly that it really only lost him a single second at most. At this point, Suigi was so far ahead and had such a clean run that many wondered where he would go next. And while Suigi would actually switch focus to the 1-star category for the next few months leading into 2023, a category he would also absolutely obliterate, he was still putting time into 16-star. March of 2023 would prove to be one of the most memorable months in the game's history for Suigi, as he would not only achieve multiple world records in 1-star to mark his dominance over a second main category, he would actually end up being the first person in history to do so in under 7 minutes, breaking through what might be the final minute barrier in the category. Many would hail this run as his greatest achievement ever, but Suigi wasn't done yet. He went back to 16-star one more time and performed a run that would go down in history, but given he already had a 14-minute, 41-second run with seemingly only a single 1-second mistake, what time would Suigi achieve?
$16 is dead. $16 is fucking dead. Oh my god.
Normally I would say GreenSuigi has done it again, but I don't know if he has ever done a world record quite of this magnitude. This is easily the craziest Mario 64 world record ever done, ever.
It's over. Super Mario 64 is officially dead. You all may as well just uninstall the game.
To get a sense of how historic this speedrun is, here are the top 130 runners of 16-star. Tons of competition at the top level, with runners inching out each other by fractions of a second, aside from a gap near the 15-minute mark. And then there's Suigi, sitting on another planet.
It's kind of hard to watch this reaction because, like, it makes me feel like to cry. It makes me feel so emotional.
I didn't make a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. There's no mistake. There's no mistake. I'm not in game. There's no mistake. There is no mistake.
GreenSuigi's 16-star run was out of this world, and closer to perfection than anyone dreamed possible. It had the entire speedrun community talking about what a truly remarkable run it really was. He got a fast LBLJ, landed the side flip in Dark World and got Tsukushima's cycle, threw Bowser in less than 1 spin, got cannonless, got owlless, did a single jump to get up to wild blue, got fly guyless, got pillarless, got pro lava boost and skipped the poles, got side hop, got pro left side in HMC, got triple box jump, got the C up slide, caught Mips and got an incredibly rare grab on him, which caused Mario to punch the wall to knock him out of the door at the same time, got through the 30-star door, got chip clip, got front sub, got pole glitch, got ultimate cycle, threw Bowser in less than one spin again, got perfect BLJs through the 50-star door and up the endless staircase, got TAS long jump, got moving right side, and got perfect Bowser throws to close out the greatest Super Mario 64 speedrun to have ever been achieved in the game's history. Earlier in the month, Suigi had been speedrunning 1 star, and since he had the world record for that category as well, he would switch to 0 star as his next focus. An important point to note is that the hardest trick in 0 star is DDD skip, or Dire Dire Docks skip, which if failed, will result in Mario falling into the Dire Dire Docks portal instead of phasing straight through. The result of this, however, is that a failed 0 star run can actually resemble a regular 1 star run, and so Suigi would sometimes go for a 1 star attempt if he failed DDD skip. This is exactly what happened on April 9th of 2023, when Suigi had a 0 star attempt with a very fast beginning, but slipped up during DDD skip and ended up in the level. Suigi decided to play it out since this had a chance of keeping up with his current 1 star world record. He would get chip clip and successfully collect the star atop the submarine, giving him a chance to try his hand at a fast fire sea. It would go beautifully with no errors. Suigi would fight Bowser, and the only thing left between him and the final stage were the 2 backward long jump sections. The BLJ through the 50-star door would mirror his 16-star run and go perfectly, and the same would be true for the endless staircase BLJ. He long jumped for glory to shortcut through Bowser in the sky, got the right side triple jump, and fought Bowser to achieve the most surprising 1-star world record ever. This run was pretty clean and flawless, and would stand with his 16-star run as a showcase of not just his incredible skill, but also his seemingly superhuman ability to perform under pressure. Where most struggle to survive, Suigi would thrive, and his dominance over another category was firmly established. Back to 0 star Suigi would go, and it's worth noting that during his runs, Suigi was going for a very Hail Mary approach to DDD skip. Runners until now had primarily stuck to a strategy known as door strats, a technique where runners would build up speed on the stairs, launch Mario into the pillar to continue building up speed, and then launch him into the 30-star door from the side. Then, by very carefully making note of how far along the checkered tiles Mario had moved along the door, it was possible to tell close to exactly how fast he was moving, and based on this speed, runners would choose what combination of stick angles and pause buffering to use to get through the DDD portal. This method was hard to master, but good ultimately for consistently getting through the portal. Suigi, however, employed a completely different method. He chose instead to go for a variant of a method that would throw consistency completely out the window in favor of pure speed, opting to build up speed on the stairs, launch Mario just to the left side of the door, but right of the pillar, and precisely launch straight through the door. No pause buffering needed. This method could save seconds over the tried and true door strats, but would come at a cost of hundreds of extra attempts to get runs that made it past this point, in hopes that Mario had just the right speed to make it straight through the portal. He would set his first 0 star world record on April 6th, which is actually 3 days prior to his final 1 star record, and he would achieve a final time of 6 minutes and 26 seconds, beating the previous record by just under a second. However, this run was far from perfect, and he knew he had time to save, so he went back into the game and would end up setting 3 more world records, finishing with a final time of 6 minutes 20 seconds, a total improvement of over 6 seconds, placing him in a distant first place, way ahead of the rest of the pack. Notably, this run still had time save, as his DDD skip took a second try to actually catch the stairs, so a theoretical time save was still available. That was really the only blemish on this run, however, and Suigi would still get some insane BLJs on both staircases to enter the final level, and would clutch out an incredible final segment to solidify this run and cement his commanding lead over a third main category. This wouldn't be the last time Suigi touched 0 star, but after this incredible run he would switch back to a category he had practiced in the near past, 70 star. At this point, Suigi had 3 out of 5 main category world records, which is an accomplishment that extremely few runners had ever achieved. It was difficult enough to get 1 world record, let alone 3, and especially in a period of time when Super Mario 64 was experiencing a boom in popularity, and had arguably become the most competitive speed game in all of speedrunning. Suigi would spend months practicing segments of 70 star before doing any more runs of the category, but he would come back to full game runs in June and would set an incredible new world record of 46 minutes, 41 seconds, beating the previous record by 13 seconds, another huge lead just as before. At this point, Super Mario 64 speedruns become much more heavily tilted towards slick, quick, and sharp movement. While these longer categories like 70 star and even 120 star have their fair share of tricks, a top level runner can save a lot of time over the course of a longer category by simply working on refining their movement through courses to ensure Mario's momentum remains conserved as much as possible. And this was one of Suigi's many strong points. Not only was he able to get extremely clean movement, he managed to stay consistent throughout his speedrun attempts, and had backups at the ready for any moment where something could go wrong. A great example of this is when Suigi had a blunder in Wet Dry World during the 100 coin star, where, while collecting coins, he missed a jump to a long plank, causing Mario to fall down. However, with some quick thinking, he performed a long jump back up to just barely make it over to the platform with the coins he was trying to get to originally. While Suigi may make the occasional mistake, his swift movement through the rest of the run more than makes up for it. Not only that, but his ability to recover from mistakes mentally and stay focused in on the speedrun is otherworldly. At this point, everybody and their mums were wondering if Suigi was on track to become the first person to get all 5 categories, and although Suigi constantly reminded people it wasn't something he was actively focusing on, to the point of timing out users in his live streams who would continuously pester him about it, it was nonetheless a hot topic of discussion. Suigi, after all, had now attained 4 out of the 5 main category world records, those being 0 star, 1 star, 16 star, and now 70 star. A feat that members of the community speculate may have possibly been held by a runner named Shigeru back in 2011, which is over 13 years ago. And if you check the speedrun.com page, there doesn't appear to be a time when he holds more than 3 at one time, unless of course the dates of these runs listed are incorrect. And back then, the competition compared to today was like a teaspoon of sand compared to an entire beach. It's very likely Suigi might have been the first runner in history to even hold 4 of these records at the same time. So what we were witnessing was like magic before our very eyes. Suigi would at this point start a long journey of learning the only monstrous category left, 120 star. But would dip his toes back into 0 star before the end of the year. He achieved what would stand until today as the fastest time a human being had ever completed the game. Suigi decimated his own world record and achieved a final, blindingly fast time of 6 minutes 16 seconds, a time that to this day is over 10 seconds ahead of the next fastest run. Having accomplished this, he would turn his focus back to the 120 star category, the only beast he had yet to tame, and this would prove to be one of the most arduous grinds yet. 120 star was over twice as long as 70 star, despite the star count. The major difference was that while every other category had the advantage of being able to cut out slow stars in favor of just the fastest available to Mario, in 120 star, you had to collect them all. Every annoying star, every long 100 coin star, they were all here, and Suigi didn't hesitate to get to work. He would practice and do full runs through December of 2023 and finished with a time of 1 hour, 41 minutes and 49 seconds. A very respectable time that would put him in 40th place overall at the time, and 5 minutes behind the world record, which at the time was a very solid 1 hour, 36 minute, 48 second time. The only run in the world under 1 hour 37 minutes at this point. It was also in the month of December that the 70 star world record would be taken by Ikori, a player from Japan who also had a great 120 star time. Ikori beat Suigi's time by 13 seconds, which was an incredibly commanding lead, and Suigi wouldn't try to challenge this time for now, opting instead to spend a large part of 2024 practicing 120 star. One of the most notoriously difficult tricks in 120 star is carpetless, where rather than riding the carpet up to the top of the big house in the sky in Rainbow Ride, runners do a series of extremely precise and frame-perfect movements to get up to the roof with a series of wall kicks. It's considered one of the hardest tricks in the game, and many runs fail right here before making it to the end. Suigi would do his best to master this trick and would grind for hours. He wouldn't do full runs anymore. Instead, he would practice every part of the 120-star run piece by piece, slowly perfecting each individual segment before moving on to the next. He would practice individual stars and levels, grinding for good times all the way through. But he wasn't just learning these segments, he was setting world records along the way, completing individual sections faster than anyone had before. It was clear to anyone watching that Suigi was aiming for perfection, and it showed in his gameplay. By October of 2024, Suigi had risen all the way to 8th in the world with a final time of 1 hour, 37 minutes and 11 seconds, while the world record had been improved by Ouija to a time of 1 hour, 36 minutes and 2 seconds, which had stood for a few months by this point. It was clear that a minute barrier was prime for breaking, and Suigi, having finished all of his practice, was in prime position to strike. On the 22nd, he would improve his time by 11 seconds to 1 hour, 37 minutes flat. But nobody could have predicted what would happen next. Only 4 days later, Suigi would get on a run that didn't look so special at the beginning, but after he got upstairs, he would awaken a fierce beast within, and sped through the rest of the game faster than anyone ever had before. Suigi obliterated the world record. He beat it by almost 30 seconds, and his own personal best by almost a minute and a half. In the process, he set the record for the fastest time a speedrunner had ever completed the upstairs segment, resulting in a blistering final time of 1 hour, 35 minutes, and 33 seconds. A new minute barrier, broken by Suigi again. The speedrun world barely had any time to process this world record though, as only a week later, Suigi would beat his own record by another 5 seconds. Suigi had now become the only runner to achieve not just a 135, but a 135 twice. And if this wasn't impressive enough, Suigi would attend the speedrunning event PACE 2024, and would get on an incredible run in front of a live audience.
Oh my goodness, with the one pause! With the one pause and the single star ending, GreenSuigi making it look like nothing. One more throw for GreenSuigi.
I think that's it.
And that'll do it. A 135.
The first ever 135 live in person.
Breaking Cheese's in-person record by almost 2 minutes.
He's so calm about it. Dude, pop off, man.
Unbelievable with a 135.41 GreenSuigi. Wow. We've never seen anything like this. Unbelievable.
Get louder, come on.
Oh my goodness.
On world record pace, he landed carpetless on his first try, and kept his composure to go on to achieve a 135 live, his third ever, and the fastest anyone had ever completed the game in front of a live audience.
Mark Rutsu. Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. The venue absolutely loving it here. GreenSuigi.
Phenomenal job by GreenSuigi.
The passing of the torch, guys. It really has happened.
Suigi once again held 4 out of 5 main categories, and was currently second place in 70 star. He had come closer to the summit than anyone before, and as he went back to give 70 star another try, he would surprise everyone with a new world record, only 2 days into attempts. On November 17th of 2024, Suigi would make history and become the first person to hold all 5 main category world records in Super Mario 64 at the same time. A feat that will be looked back on as possibly the greatest accomplishment in video game history. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. It was really fun to make. I wanted to take this time to give a quick shout out to the Mario 64 speedrunning community in general. It's been a really wonderful community to be a part of, and a lot of cool storylines are happening right now. If you want to follow GreenSuigi, I would recommend checking out both his stream and his YouTube channel, which I'll link in the description below, because even though this video was fun to make, I'm sure his story is not completed, so do go follow him. I'm sure he's got plenty of crazy stuff in store for us in the future. As well as that, I would highly recommend a video by Bismuth where he breaks down the 1435 16-star world record set by Suigi in extreme detail, picking apart every single little piece of the run. I'll link that in the description as well. And as another recommendation, I'd like to shout out Carl Jobst, who also did coverage of GreenSuigi's world records individually as they were happening. I want to give a big thank you to all of the Patreon supporters. Thank you all for supporting this video. I've been posting little extras and sneak peeks for upcoming videos, and if you're interested in checking that stuff out, or even just supporting the channel in a more direct way, then I'd really recommend checking out patreon.com/TheBarinade. Thank you to everybody who's been on there, and thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Much love. Ciao for now.